How you doing, people? I wasn't really going with that notion that Errol Spence Jr. had lingering effects from the car accident. Post-fight, critics have talked about how Errol Spence Jr. has regressed in his speech pattern and essentially has gone into the fight impaired. A lot of the credit is taken away of Terence Crawford, who is the man who inflicted the damage that eventually had Errol Spence looking the way he did. I don't remember earlier fights in which we have raised these red flags. I think he has stepped up in level and his flaws have been exposed. He was bullied in the clinches, not being maybe the inside fighter he was proclaimed to be. Terence Crawford was able to hand fight in the clinches and be defensively very responsible and make his punches count when he didn't necessarily have the highest work rate, but he had a very consistent jab, and I feel like that weapon is very underestimated and high-class fighter can be made to look less than. Keep you resetting, keep you confused, keep you hesitant, keep you shell-shocked, which is what Errol Spence became in that fight. Anticipating, trying to feign aggression, show that he was the boogeyman, you know what I mean? Live up to his reputation, walking them down, trying to work the body. He was trying, he wasn't landing though. He wasn't landing to the body as he'd like to. Terence Crawford was very defensively responsible on the inside. You see him switch up like a Floyd Mayweather from high guard to a shoulder roll, and he's doing it from the southpaw position. We've seen Paulie Spadafora use the shoulder roll in that stance. Might also be a little bit of Errol Spence having trouble with a slick southpaw. Simple as that. Counter-punching southpaw. How many fighters has Juan Manuel Marquez made to look very foolish, although they were solid fighters? It's that counter-punching style, man, and Crawford put on a clinic when it comes to counter-punching. Errol Spence Jr. has a tendency, this shell-shocked anticipating of often getting hit, and then he's bending at his waist, kind of exposing one side of his head, you know what I mean? Crawford, he'll put that left hand behind your ear, and he has no problem doing that, no qualms. Just ask Henry Lundy. It almost looks illegal. These are Bud Spencer knockdowns. These are into the canvas drilling knockdowns. He did it to Gamboa. He did it to Hank Lundy. He'll throw downwards trajectory nuclear punches. They end up being nuclear. Might not be Adonis Stevenson, but Superman used to do it. Try to nail you into the canvas. Landing on the neck, behind the ear, back of the head. The brainstem rupturers. A lot of people talk about how Ali has been done in by those type of punches, or a James Toney, you know? All that rolling, exposing the back of the head, giving up back of the head punches, have you fucked up and slurring later on. And Spence has a tendency of doing that, and he was getting tagged to the back of the head and cleaned up with the right hook. When it comes to like dude having brain damage, he has that southern drawl. Shout out to Brendan Sharp. Brenda. But he has that lean vibe going, you know what I mean? And I always said that.
Let it shower umpteen miles an hour. Speed the action, cut out the reaction, factory, slide home through its crumb. Say, Bernard, don't let your big head be hard to come around, put it down. Yeah, suck it to me, yeah. Yeah, just suck it to me, yeah. Suck it to me, yeah. Boy. Come on. Now I'm wasting the sweat. Chuck, boy. No, me. Chuck.
We just attribute it to him having no personality back in the day, you know? It wasn't brain damage at that point. Then again, he had a lazy eye. That lazy eye could be attributed to some brain functions misfiring. Yeah, nitpicking. I think this dude, man, got tagged to the back of the head, got hit with a stiff jolt, you know, to the neck. Left hand, right jab. And the corner of Crawford was calling for the 1-to-1. Wanted him to end these combinations with a jab, you know, and make the jab count. That's the old Jack Dempsey technique, man, the jolt.
To maintain its equilibrium, your rescuing right foot acted as a springboard. The left foot serves as a trigger to spring the right foot. So the falling step sometimes is called the trigger step. I warned, don't make a preliminary movement before stepping off. Had you followed your natural inclination and shifted your weight to the right foot before stepping, that action would have started your body weight moving backward, away from the direction in which you intended to step. Then you would have had to lose a split second, while your right foot was stopping the backward motion and shifting your weight forward again before the punching step could be taken. Learn now, and always remember that in fighting you cannot afford to give your body the luxury of a useless preliminary or preparatory movement before shooting a punch. In the first place, your target may be open for only a split second, and you must take advantage of that opening like a bolt of lightning. Secondly, preliminary movements are giveaways, telltales, telegraphs that treacherously betray to your opponent your own next action. You now know how to set your weight into motion for a straight jolt by means of the falling step.
So of course I'm rooting for Pacquiao to win because that's a bigger fight. But after watching the fight again, I was like, they not saying nothing about all them shots Jeff Horn was hitting Pacquiao with. And he was just brutally bullying him, roughing him up. They could say, oh, he was being dirty, sometimes he a headbutt, but it's a fight. That's going to happen, you know. But he was real life manhandling Pacquiao, like pushing him all around. And you see Keith Thurman couldn't even do that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's,
seeing him beat Keith Thurman at 40 years old, like, God damn, this guy's great. I mean, just look at his career with 8 different weight classes, world titles in. Eight different weight classes. 40 years old, beats Keith Thurman, who's in his prime.
Right.
Crazy.
He sure turned back the hands of time on that one.
Fucking crazy.
Didn't he?
And he fought in spurts. Both of them fought in spurts. And I thought Keith was going to pick up on it, but Pacquiao was only fighting the end of the round. Like, Keith would come on strong at the beginning of the round, and they would be like, all right, Keith winning this round. And then Pacquiao would just be like, pop. And then Keith would be like, like, oh, man.
I didn't even see the fight.
Well, when he dropped him with that right hook early in the first, you're like, oh,
it's like a right jab.
Yeah.
No, it was like he jumped in with the left and then followed by like a straight right.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Explosive and quick with his right hand, and he is left-handed. Right. But that little right jab, he put him down in the first round with a little quick flick right.
It's actually a jab.
It's a hard jab.
A hard jab knocked him down.
Knocked him down. Unbelievable. A simple, hard right jab.
No preliminary movement. Just lift the left foot and let the body fall forward in a long, quick step. The left foot should land flat and solid on the floor at the end of the step. It is a quick, convulsive, and extremely awkward step. Yes, it's one of the most important steps of your fistic life, for that falling forward lurch is the rough diamond out of which will be ground the beautiful straight knockout jolt. It's the gem movement of straight punching. Try that falling step many times. Make certain each time that you start from a comfortably balanced position, that the body weight is resting largely on the left leg, and the knees are slightly bent, that the arms are at your side, and that you make no preliminary movement with the right foot. I call that forward lurch a falling step. Actually, every step in walking involves a small fall. Walking is a series of falls. But in this particular step, the fall is exaggerated for two reasons. One, your weight is well forward when you step off. And two, the step is so long, it gives gravity a chance to impart unusual momentum to your body weight. The solidity with which your left foot landed upon the floor was caused by your momentum.
It was crazy. It's like, wow. He
But
went
that's
over the
his punch.
shoulder. Yep.
That's
yep.
his punch.
Yep.
They were showing him hitting other fighters with it. The same thing. Well, boom, boom.
He has such a unique style. The leaping in,
What
firing shots.
would you have did if he came in with that shit on you?
Boom, boom, boom. Oh, man.
Brenton Rios had that also in his repertoire, the all Cameron Duncan connection. But Errol couldn't do anything with it, man. And he was getting hit to the back of the head and to the neck. That shit will discombobulate you and also negate like any type of plan that you might have had, you know? Your thought process getting constantly interrupted, man. That's what a jab will do to you. And imagine also like equilibrium punches, man. They will linger. They will stay with you. Just ask Anthony Joshua in the Andy Ruiz fight, you know? These punches aren't easy to recover from, although you're not necessarily like out of it. It's just like your legs might be gone. Like Mickey Ward at Turugati in the second fight. Your balance is shot basically. Look at Spence walking back after the first round, you know? Back to his corner after that knockdown. He got up and he was fighting. He was fighting hard. Even in the beginning of the second round, he was fighting hard. But I think he was just fighting through the hurt, you know what I mean? His legs were gone, but he was determined. Always funny like to see fighters have a goofy smile on their face, you know, while they're getting hurt. Thomas Hearns, Marvin Hagler. Thomas Hearns, like after the first round, he has this goofy smile on his face. Like they know what's coming, trying to put on a brave face. Let's look at this, man. I think this is the round. This is where like his face gets busted. Like also Crawford had this Zab Judah uppercut on Lark, and Errol Spence Jr. was getting whipped with a Lark. His jabs sound like fucking whips. He makes a shit count, man. You see damage. Errol Spence Jr. has like this heavy-handed, big guy punching, you know what I mean? Trying to punch at a big target. That's what he's trying to do, you know what I mean? Hoping like that you find yourself in front of his fist, George Foreman style. Crawford is slippery and sharp and devastating when he's hitting, you know what I mean? Like he's cutting and bruising. Like Errol Spence Jr. looked like he had prosthetics after the fight. Like his eyes, the shit under his eyes, whatever that was, man. Anyways, let's get into this. Let's see the nuclear exploding at the brainstem. A clip with a left hook. Not a left hook. The jolt again. Two jolts. He's trying to power through. Just got checked again with a jolt. Ooh, see, that's what I'm saying. There it was. Spence overshoots his range with a jab and misses. Oh no, he actually landed that. He landed his jab, but Crawford stands his ground and shoots the left hand. What does Spence do? He crouches. I guess he slightly rolled that, but still, that shit hit him low-key to the back of the head. He's not a happy camper right now. Spence is surprised he landed. It's set up with that shit. That finished Hank Lundy. That combination, downward trajectory, spearing, you know, that's scary. That makes people jump on their head, go into acrobatics. Like, you don't fall regular on that shit. Go into a spasm after trying to jump in an imaginary pool. Like, look at fucking Spence's eyes, man. What happened there? His eyes didn't look right going in, but what the hell happened with his eyes, man? It's a jab, huh? It's like he's getting poked or something, man. Levering by Crawford. Those levers he puts out there to kinda either neutralize Spence on the inside or set up like avenues for punches. And he doesn't do it necessarily like in a posing type of way, you know what I mean? He just takes the opportunities like subtly. See the way he just like showed him a little roll and put that stiff jab on him. How he's gauging, put the hand on his shoulder, then put a little jab out there. Ugh, it's all like thought out. See the feints, man. Ooh. Put a feint on him, you know what I mean? Shook his nervous system. These little jabs, see again, the way he's like double jabbing him. Spence has no defense for that shit. That wasn't good, you know, the way Spence, look at his legs, the way they straightened. I feel like he got concussed, man, in the first knockdown and never recovered. Because when you watch him getting up from that knockdown, going back to his corner, like he's good at faking, I guess. And he has a lot of heart, you know, he has grit. And he'll try. Like, Spence knows the shit is coming. Can't get away from it though. Look at these exaggerated steps by Spence, man. Nothing is subtle. Derrick James didn't really help in the corner, I believe. They seemed like two damaged individuals, you know, when you're trying to have a conversation. Huh? What'd you say? No, what? A lot of this. That wasn't good. That wasn't good. This doctor just had this dude like tripping over him. Look at Spence. That wasn't him tripping over the foot of the doctor. He wasn't even near him. A neurological exam would probably tell you that Spence has a lot of trouble right now. Like, he's not right. I've seen that shit. Like a death in the ring analysis. Our fighter, like from round to round, is like regressing.
The first sign of trouble came at the start of the second round. Munson staggers slightly as he stands up in his corner and steps to the middle of the ring. Experts call this a gait disturbance, something ringside doctors, referees, and others are trained to look for as evidence of a changing condition.
He looks fatigued coming out already. So he takes a jab, he takes a leg kick. Okay, and then there's, I guess, a timeout for a groin kick right there. You see the ref breaks it from what I presume he thought was a groin kick, and then he turns away. The ref turns away, but the African American kid stumbles. He doesn't have his feet under him at that point. That's not exhaustion. That's lack of coordination. See, he takes a weird step there. That's the first thing that I would notice, where I would be watching really carefully.
His feet cross, putting him in a vulnerable position.
And he staggers, and his arms go down. And right then and there, you know, I'm doing this as a ringside physician for over 20 years, and we watch the fights very closely. One of the first things you look for is any kind of gait disturbance. And when you see a gait disturbance or you see a fighter, with some balance issue, you right away kind of get on the edge of your seat because you're kind of wondering at that point, was there a shot? Was there something else that happened? Was there something you didn't see?
You really err on the side of caution for an amateur, and especially a first fight guy. I'm telling my referees, hey, this is the guy's first fight. I'd rather they get upset with my referee, and then I'll take the heat off the referee and say that the commission ordered it, or if the doctor stopped it and say, well, that's the way we get it. I'd rather stop it too soon than too late in an amateur fight.
See, he's stumbling all over. His feet aren't under him. That's not just exhaustion. Usually people move in a coordinated but slow kind of thing. They get tagged because they're tired, but they're not stumbling. You know what I'm saying? It's a little bit different.
At the end of round 2, Munson staggers back to his corner.
The ref again turns his back. As the kid goes back and he crosses his feet again, he kind of staggers back to the ring. And at that point, I definitely would be in there for an eval.
The doctor, Feliciano, looks into Munson's corner, then to the other corner.
I would be shocked from what I did see if that fight occurred in New Jersey and the ringside physician didn't enter the ring after round 2.
He then picks up his cell phone, taking his eyes off the fighters for about 20 seconds.
So in that regard, man, it's always scary. Fighters like that definitely should get pulled. Like, that's what they tell a fighter, to go to one side and then to the other. Walk a straight line, essentially. Like, you just seen Spence, man. He just showed you what he's gonna do in 20 years. Is he gonna be one of those? Can't walk a straight line, can't talk. He's gonna fall if you're gonna tell him to shadow box. Eventually he's gonna fall.
It's like saying, does the good outweigh the bad? You know what I mean? What do the good parts of boxing and the excitement of boxing and the people you meet, the thrill of being a fighter, the thrill of knowing you are a fighter, would that outweigh the consequences? I don't know. It all depends on the individual.
I think it's harder for the family members than it is for Denny and Phil, because in their world, they're okay. And their world, nobody is hurting. Nobody, they don't know what piece is really missing.
And sometimes it takes him a while. But today I went in and he kissed me, so he knew it was me.
And Philip's like that too, and responds to his wife. I can remember a few years ago when I first started here, whenever he would get upset, he couldn't remember her name, but he would know that, that lady. He would say to that lady.
See it. It was a very painful reunion for me. On the other hand, I see that he's still the underlying Tony he always was, remarkably happy, very upbeat. He is truly the embodiment of forgiveness.
Sometimes I just sit and marvel at him to be able to go through the day. So parts of him are still the old Tony if you look.
Anybody who wants to deny the brutality of the sport and the damage that it does to a brain is living in fantasy land. Either they're blind or they want to be blind to the effects of it. It's not an isolated case. It is not an isolated case. It's one of many.
It's hard to think back and, to what he is now and what he was back then. It's such a huge difference. I don't want to put no grief on anybody. The grief of death alone in the family is enough, but to go through punishment and then death is just too much.
We're all that they have between now and the end. And I just think that they all deserve a little bit more respect than they're getting.
The doctors told me about how it is. They just lose a little bit all the time, and he's not aware of it. In other words, he's living over there, but really he's dead.
Phil Moyer in the black trunks. The 23-year-old Moyer is a substitute for his brother Denny, who came down with an ear infection earlier this week. He's in the midst of a comeback campaign and has won both his bouts this year. 1 minute to go in round 10. The finish should be furious. Large crowd is applauding. Moyer finishing strong. There's the bell. The winner by a unanimous decision, Denny Moyer. Reversing the previous decision which Robinson had over him, and very gracious Ray Robinson congratulates him in the center. We invite you to be at television ringside next Saturday night and enjoy the 15-round World Lightweight Championship match.
So the doctor let him go 4 or 5 more rounds, and there's a reason why he got in there. Maybe there were concerns already for our friend Spence. Like, I remember like this guy being a big welterweight that we didn't have any concerns for. He's damaged goods at this point. I understand like he got dropped, but it's not like he took a vicious beating, you know? He got tagged a couple of times and the doctor's already in there. Maybe they saw what I just saw after the first round, kind of showing signs of having balance issues, and this is a clear sign. This is why I'm making this video, just rewatching this fight, right? And I see this dude like have a disappointed reaction because the ref allowed the timekeeper the round to start and then call time. So essentially both fighters thought they were going to start fighting. Spence kind of took it as a bad omen, you know, for the doctor to come in, and maybe had hoped that he would just be observing from outside, but dude is in there. It can't be this time already when the doctor's checking on me. Also for clout reasons, man. You know, the public profile of a lot of athletes has increased so much, man, that every reaction, we've lost a lot of genuine reactions in sports. Determined, planned almost. They're always aware that they could lose clout, and I'm sure it was always that to a certain extent, but come on, we're in trouble, bro. Like, you don't think LeBron James thought about how he'd react if he'd win a championship for Cleveland, or Floyd Mayweather when he like beat Ricky Hatton, that he didn't play this out, man, or you think this is his personality? We got a lot of phonies, man, that are pretty good athletes and legends. Yeah, but fucking Spence, man, that was a genuine reaction. He was he's like, damn, making me look dumb in front of Yelabisi or something. Anyway, that misstep, man, that's kind of concerning, bro. Like, he can't turn around and walk back to his corner without almost like tripping over himself. Like, that's not a good sign, bro. 33, that's prime years still, you know, especially this time. Everybody talking about scientific progress, everything gets better with time, but like Sugar Ray Robinson, man, he's still whooping ass at 36 and shit. Crawford, still whooping ass at 36. I guess there are exceptions, right? Fuck time or futuristic training methods, man. They're just legends. That's that. Outliers. Spence is like us.
The protagonists, those that wish boxing to continue, have to be honest and say, look, boxing is dangerous. But then we have to try and decide how dangerous.
The only thing I can ever remember being said, yeah, it makes you punchy. Nobody said, well, wait a second, what does punchy mean?
These are not actors you're going to see. They're real fighters who were once top names in the ring. What's your name?
My name is Joey Greb.
How old are you?
I'm 57 years old.
How many fights have you had, Joey?
I had 243 fights.
Did you ever fight any champions?
I fought so many I forgot who I fought.
Brain damage in boxing can be, again, quite clearly divided into two types. Acute brain damage, chronic brain damage. Acute brain damage is in nearly all cases due to a thing called a subdural hemorrhage. If you start bleeding in that gap between your brain and your skull, what happens then, there's a sudden catastrophic pressure change and boom, it all falls apart.
The red sags to the canvas. Benny went down not from any one punch, but from an accumulation of punches. Dr. Schiff says let him alone, he'll probably be all right. No cause for excitement.
The chronic brain damage is just the cumulative effect of blows that are going to hit you. They're not going to knock you out. You keep boxing, you walk into another and another and changes occur within the microscopic structures of the brain.
Damaging the front part of your brain will damage your ability to make good decisions. And they won't recognize that they're troubled.
Richardall should not be taking these shots. Thank God.
I was close to getting the shot at the middleweight title. And as long as I was winning, I didn't pay no attention to the effects that I had, or the wounds, or whatever you want to call it. After 1981, man, my eye just started going bad. I got thumbed in the right eye, and I got another one in the left eye. And I went and I saw Dr. Chenoweth in Portland, Oregon. And I went into his room, and the lights were so bright I couldn't see nothing. He looked at me, and he estimated that I was blind 18 months. I was boxing blind for 18 months. I didn't know it. Why? I was winning. Winner never sees no flaw.
Vasily Jarov was my opponent March 13th, 2004. I dominated the whole fight till 12 seconds left in the 9th round, where I was hit with a shot behind the head. And from then on, the story's kind of foggy.
And down goes Macy on a right hand across the top. And Macy badly hurt now as Jarov goes to the body. That's the Jarov stock and trade. And Macy goes down.
After the fight, I had some headaches, for a couple of days. So we went to our local doctor and got some MRIs, and they found the injury, they found the problem.
I went to see the finest neurosurgeon in the world with Joe, and he laid it right on the line. You're going to have to be here in Boston for several days, Mr. Macy. And I said, we'll stay a month. I'm his father. I got to know these things. I got to know if he's okay or not.
I didn't seek out Joe Macy. He sought out me. He came to me for an opinion. Technically, Joe had what we call a subdural hematoma.
And that's a type of brain hemorrhage where the very thin, fragile blood vessels on the surface of the brain, as the brain twists around inside the skull, these get stretched and twisted, and they can rip. And when they rip, they don't spurt blood, they ooze.
He's not more susceptible to have a subdural hematoma because the vein that broke is gone, and therefore can't cause him more trouble in the future.
The Nevada Commission is the only commission in the world that has this one-line rule that says you cannot fight if you've ever had a history of a subdural hematoma. We have the neurosurgeons with the credentials and the family and the fighter saying we're okay. That should be enough.
I think the tests that we're taking, first of all, are not adequate. There's got to be some different type test. I mean, you can see a boxer who can pass every test, and you can see him stumbling in the ring, has no coordination, but still he passes the test.
I went to UCLA Medical Center and got on all the machines, kidney, brain, thyroid, urine, blood, all kind of tests. 3 days, okay. Then I went to Mayo Clinic, the boss of all clinics, Mayo, stayed 2 days, A1. Do I sound like I have brain damage? I'm not making excuses. I think it helped me because I didn't went around. I was too weak. I didn't throw it people. This is why the woman retired.
Legally, in a court of law, lawyers, judge wants to use hard data. And if someone's passed their test, they want to say, well, you put them through all these tests, then they should be able to fight. Give them their license. Well, if you want to let fighters fight that shouldn't be in the ring any longer, then just use tests as your only criteria.
Ali's very last fight, and it was one day after training that Angelo asked me confidentially, says, Manuel, I feel that Ali should quit. His reflexes have slowed down. What do you think? And I agreed with him.
He wasn't there. He was in no shape. People said, why don't you tell him to retire? Well, I don't ever play God with fighters. I told Muhammad, you do what you want to do with your life, son. That's what he should do. It's his life.
I got more sense than anybody. Who can handle you like I'm handling you now? Brain damage.
He had Parkinson. He had Parkinson before he stopped fighting. But the Parkinson affects his movement.
And the ex-champ has to hold on. Ali in his own corner is being battered.
Ali looks like he's getting very tired.
It looked to us at ringside that, you were slow, you were telegraphing your punches, the eyes could see it, but the physical ability just couldn't get it there.
It wasn't from boxing. It's not a disease affiliated with boxing. If a doctor can tell me that, I'll say amen.
Dementia pugilistica comprises several different things, but you don't have to have all the parts. One of the things are problems that lead to Parkinsonian-like symptoms. It's not Parkinson's disease, but it's Parkinson's symptoms. This particular part is most dramatic in what is called bradykinesia, which means slowness of initiating a movement. Best example of this is, of course, Muhammad Ali.
It's tough to foresee a tragedy. I hope we could foresee it and prevent it, because who wants a guy to get hurt?
Does that mean that he can't be hurt in the ring? Absolutely not. Any boxer can be. The question is, are they at greater risk?
I don't want to get into statistical arguments of if, buts and maybes. It could be this, it could be that. The bottom line, it bled once, it could bleed again. If it bleeds again, it may be a catastrophic bleed that makes Joe dead.
It was kind of a freak incident that had happened. I don't think his anatomy is any different than the rest of ours to make him more susceptible to that form of injury.
It's very probable that the very small amount of bleeding that Joe had happens in fighters more often than we're aware of. And it is true that a study done some years ago of boxers that had dementia pugilistica, the majority of them had evidence of intracranial bleeding.
He had a brain bleed. That should be the end of your career. He's a smart guy. He's a very good-looking guy. So I really don't understand why he would even continue to fight.
How can you stop an athlete from, or anybody, from earning his living?
You can't tell the kid stop. It's like cutting off circulation, like stopping living.
It can't be the what if, it's what is that I'm healthy now. I don't want to risk my life, not for anything. But it has to be handled case by case. I think boxing is my right.
If you can listen to the physicians at the American Association of Ringside Physicians, they will tell you the highest mortality rates are fighters whose fathers are in the corner.
The Gillette Cavalcade of Sports is on.
Some of them are scary. You never know if you're going to wake up.
The closest I got to thinking that I had a major tragedy was the second Johansson-Patterson fight at the Polo Grounds. At 151 of the fifth round, Patterson threw a sensational left hook, probably the most vicious left hook ever in the ring. His leg was quivering. He was on his back. He must have been on his back maybe for about 10 or 11 minutes, maybe more, I don't know.
The greatest amount of damage that occurs to boxers is when they're in that defenseless state. The acceleration forces which can be transmitted to the head are markedly accelerated when the neck is limp.
The actual damage caused by the knockout, it's that swiveling motion of the cortex and the brain stem.
The heavy hemispheres of the brain and the brain stem for microseconds are kind of going in different directions, and some of those nerves get stretched, some of them get torn. So those are probably the punches that can create the subdural hematomas that we see.
He's just more like us. That's all. And that's okay, you know. That actually should make us want to care for him more. You know, look out for him when he doesn't have anybody to look out for him, because Derek James needs someone to look out for him. Derek James should have stopped the fight earlier. What we were watching was some indecisive ass shit, and could have actually, you know, shortened his career, Spence's career, shortened his life. That's, you know, that's the reality of the shit, man.
And we had some comments concerning that. Let's go to the fight doctor.
Tony, with everything that happened, I was very concerned. He looked so bad in that first round. I thought you should have stopped it, and I said it rather hard to the audience. I'd like to hear your view of it. Why didn't you stop it?
Well, it's very simple. I talked to the man, and he answered my questions very correctly.
and he was very awake, so I let him continue. I gave him another chance.
Of course, the second time, he didn't answer you correctly, and you stopped it.
The second time, he didn't know where he was. I talked to him, and he turned his eyes on me, and his eyes was back, his eyes glassy, and his legs rubbery. That's what I stopped the fight.
Once again, proving that the men in the ring know better than anyone, and so we go back to Dick Enberg.
All right, thank you, Doctor. So
even later, people said, yeah, it's confirmed. He does have a broken jaw, and he may never fight again because of that. No.
Well, I could see where people would feel that his jaw was broken. The rumor started by just simply looking at him. One side of his jaw was twice the other side. Ruling out mumps rather immediately, you could come up with a diagnosis that he had a broken jaw. Getting down to the confirming it, that, as you know, in your business or my business, or in the boxing business, rumors fly and they're confirmed by all sorts of people. So fortunately, he had no serious injury. And the injury that he has is so minor that it probably will disappear in another 5 or 6 days.
That's definite.
That's absolutely.
I wonder if people are anxious, in some sense, for fighter to be hurt, because the word just spread. People said, I heard it, I got it direct from the doctor.
I think it heightens the drama of a naturally dramatic contest. There's probably nothing more dramatic than a heavyweight championship fight between two equally matched fighters. I don't see that the public would want to diminish it by not spreading these gory rumors. Mm-hmm. So I also heard that Joe Frazier's jaw was broken. And by the end of the evening, I heard Count Basie and Buddy Rich's jaw was broken. Everybody's jaw was broken.
Yeah. They got the names wrong, but they had... Well, how do you watch a fight?
Nervously.
I'll bet you do, yeah.
Anxiously. I usually have some place to go after the fight, and I'm always praying that my fighter doesn't get hurt so I can go. Unfortunately, this blew the whole thing yesterday, and we spent the whole night in the hospital back and forth.
Would it have been good for him to stay in the hospital?
No, it would be a good medical practice, but for the same reason that you pointed out a moment ago, the confirming of rumors and the starting of rumors, it's sort of disastrous to put a fighter in the hospital overnight. All of a sudden, vicious connotations begin, and people say, well, Joe Frazier put this guy in the hospital for a day, and although it's great for the publicity flags to start to churn up a rematch, it's not good for the fighter, and I don't think that was a true reflection of what happened to him.
Does Muhammad feel that he lost?
I mean, why did you decide to do that at that time?
Well, that was easy. If you start with a guy, you should finish with a guy. No.
Did you not think he was going on too long?
Well, no, I'm a firm believer. And I'm a firm believer not playing God with an individual. Muhammad did what he wanted to do.
Let's face it, it starts with Muhammad, because nobody made Muhammad get into the ring against Larry Holmes. But he had a manager who benefited handsomely from that fight, and the manager should have told him, no, this is not a fight that should be allowed to happen.
These people that say that Ali should have stopped, I say they're right, but I didn't have that authority over Ali that they fought. Ali was always his own man, and if I didn't do it, he would have did it himself or got somebody else to do it.
Herbert, you know, he played the game of sounding like he wanted to quit, and while making, I mean, that was his only way to make a living, and he was really, those guys really dug into him deep. You know, Don King took a nick, but these guys made it a career.
But I think, though, when somebody say Ali fought like for $6 million, Jerry, he fought for $6 million, and you got $2 million with that $6 million. That was too much for you to get for. Ali got $4 and you had to fight. You got $2 million for one fight, one night. I said, that's according to the contract. We agreed and that was it. And I think people would say, yeah, it was too much money for you guys. His family would definitely say it. All of his relatives, all the people around there would say it. But that was our agreement.
Like he said, here, I'm going to fight Larry Holmes. I'm getting $8 million to fight Larry Holmes. He said, a man 60 years old who's dying in his bed would get out and fight Larry Holmes for $8 million.
I didn't go out there to try to be a mercenary and kill him. I went out there to fight him, to win it, not to hurt him, but just to win the fight. And I think I gained a lot of credit from that fight after that.
The Nevada State Athletic Commission had a copy prior to the fight of Ali's medical records in the Mayo Clinic. Those medical records showed that when Ali tried to touch his finger to the tip of his nose, he missed the target.
You're playing with lives here. This dude in the 4th round is making pirouettes Like, what the fuck is that? Explain to me what this move is, man. Please explain to me. Why is Spence looking like this? So he's ready. He's ready to go. Rev is in there. Time. Look at Spence. Crawford is ready for the shit. Oh, look at Spence, even like the way he's walking. He's not walking normal, man. Did you see that? He wants to fall. He wants to fall, man. Like, Crawford is seeing this shit, bro. How? Oh my god, bro. Let me put it to 05. His right leg isn't working the way he wants it to. See this shit? See this shit? What is that? He almost collapsed right there. It is kind of sad, man. That he was allowed to keep going. That's the Ferdy Pacheco types, you know what I mean? They get paid to let the fights go on. Nobody mentioned that shit, man. This dude is like goofing off with his balance. That was nothing. Like I said, bro, these dudes get paid to let fights go. You ready to go? He's asking him. That's so odd, man. Goodness. That walk to that neutral corner even. He has goofy feet, man. His feet are goofy right now. As if he was wearing Mike Tyson's shoes from the weigh-in. You see that? How the ref just took him off a square like that, bro? That's not normal, man. He has no... And he didn't have it in the first round. To be completely honest, there's a clinch in the first round and Crawford just shrugs him off, man. I understand he hit him before that. Maybe Spence just went for the clinch, trying to smother. And I've seen Crawford do that in the Jeff Horn fight, in the Gamboa fight, in a bunch of fights. You know what I mean? He likes to show like that he's the stronger, that he will strong arm you in the clinch, turn you, you know? Then he winks to his family. Sticks his tongue out, you know what I mean? That type of shit. It's amateur shit, you know what I mean? It's fundamentals, man. He's been doing that, turning people since the amateur. They take pleasure, like these are superior boxers. They like to slap you on the ass, turn you. These are mind games. Established, traditional. Not the type of fighter you want to be in there with if you're already like having balance issues and your footing is obviously not there, you know what I mean? The moment you square up, it's the Tyson thing, right? Eddie Mustafa Muhammad talked about it. How he sparred Mike Tyson, went up to the Catskills, and he understood that if you box him, he will square up in front of you, you know what I mean? So you just gotta push him, like kind of be physical with Mike, you know what I mean? And then put that jab in his face and run combinations on him and shit like that. And muscle him in the clinch because he likes to clinch, but he's not necessarily like, he's resting essentially, you know what I mean? And I feel like Crawford knew that Spence went into smother and rest. Not rest because he's not in condition, rest to kind of recompose, like trying to think for a second. Look at that, bro. After he lands his jab to the body, look what happens. Look at his back foot. That's not normal. That's not normal. What is that? Comes from the front foot to the back foot like, ugh. He wants to fall. Ugh. You've seen the Dalzin move, man. Spence isn't chinny. He's actually still super strong. That's the crazy part. It's his balance. Ooh, he didn't know where to go. Didn't know where his corner was. See that? That's crazy. I bet Crawford knows that too. See, Crawford picked up on it. I remember Bernard Hopkins fighting Jermaine Taylor in the second fight, and he kept doing that. And Freddie Roach was his trainer for that fight, and he talked about it after. He asked Bernard to retire after that fight. He thought that was a sign of a fighter like losing his faculties, you know. I would love to hear what he's saying. He's not lying to him. His nose is busted. That jab. That's where all the blood is coming from. That's why his eyes looked like they did at the end. You know, he was probably blowing his nose and shit. Probably couldn't breathe through his nose. That didn't help, you know what I mean? But that's essentially like accumulation. Like he came in outmatched. That's bad now, because now he's like posting on his head, man, pushing him down, because that's his natural inclination anyway, to crouch. And you see that back foot of Spence, man. He's giving.
And Crawford is putting the reason, and he's so composed.
He's so composed. Good left hand, but he gets immediately checked, bro. He's getting led too, like into counter punches, man. And he's leaning, like he needs to lean on him to have that balance. You know what I mean? To not like overshoot. Wow, look at him, man. Masochistic, you know, the way he's like grinning, all bloodied up. Spence is trying here, but he's also fighting that like these are jabs, guys.
Terrific shot. So well timed. Bang. It was pretty much a jab. From my angle, I thought it was a left.
Hard jab, and he couldn't even have that. Just combination of being tired, outclassed, bad balance, just thoroughly beat.
Mark Fred hopes. Oh, he gets it with a jab though.
I mean, he's catching him perfect too. Look at him, he almost sat down. That tells you he's in shape, actually, that he's not falling. That Richard Pryor, man. He's in too good a shape. The legs won't fall. Still maneuvering. Like Crawford is aware. He's not just shelling up. He's thinking. Oh, he just wants to check him, bro, with that right hook. Yeah, you want to open up, man? I'm going to bide my time. See, Crawford looking to the crowd and shit in the clinches. That tells you a lot, bro. About awareness. Where he is in the fight. Look at him, man. Preoccupied with someone in the crowd. Complete control. See, that was a rush. For all the talk about Sean Porter, man. Errol Spence, man. You gotta also like eat your words in that regard. He's getting tagged here. He's on a string as far as the jab is concerned, man. Right hand jab, man. It's a southpaw equation. Like he doesn't do well with southpaws, I feel like. It was Emmanuel Latte, the guy that tagged him early in his career, you know. That was a southpaw, right hook. But for all the talking about Sean Porter, man, that style and how Sean Porter isn't able to box. If Sean Porter, man, had the physical dimensions of Errol Spence, man, Terence Crawford might not have beaten him. Then again, probably his size also plays at times into like the effectiveness of his spurts and rushes, you know what I mean? But Sean Porter's footwork is underrated. That was kind of downward trajectory. And also the way he's like short distance able to, that would have murdered Spence. The way Spence is rushing in there to get a break, like he to get his licks back, you know what I mean? That's very Sean Porter-esque, to be honest with you. In the smothering of his own shots. See, Spence is so dazed, he wouldn't have had the awareness of a butt to like get his corner to wipe something. Like he would have just like blinkingly walked out there. That's the right hook. Goodness gracious, man. Goodness gracious. Look at the balance, the way he's like, yeah, he's lunging, but he's keeping his balance, Crawford. His power is generated at the end of his shot still. You think he's lunging or he's like square or whatever. Like a lot of people talk about the Crawford style, how they don't like it, you know, because they're conditioned to like that cookie cutter pad work style. They're looking for a certain type of shit. Hesh type of shit, you know. You seen that, bro? You seen that? A little right hook counter just like off. It's almost like his feet are together. You just can't, man, that's just. But let's look at Spence. How did he approach that stepping in there? His legs are done. Look at his legs. Wobbly, jittery. He's having trouble. That doesn't look coordinated, guys. That looks like a stroke victim, man. Look the way he's walking into that. His legs are all jittery and fucked, bro. That shouldn't have put him down like that, man. That's a double right hook. That second one is what has him wobbling, getting up like that. See? It's again downward trajectory, guys. Like he's already falling and gets clipped like completely unprotected, you know. On top of the head again. See, that's a discouraged fighter right there. Goodness. The fact that he was even able to walk that. Man, see the way he's like, man. He's getting clipped also like consistently with hard hooks, you know, sharp hooks. You see, he's getting tagged to the same spot over and over, man. To the right side of his face, man. He's tough though. He's super tough. I feel like we've seen it now. Oh man. Okay. Yeah. To end this, you've seen him like have that awkward reset. Not good. Alright then. Take care.